Hello, my name is Diana Sherban and you are listening to the Recolamp podcast. We meet here every week with people who inspired us with their life stories as well as with what they do on a daily basis. The really important things happen with sustained effort, and we like to believe that lifelong development is a lifestyle that we all should embrace. And how else if not by first letting ourselves inspired by the people around us.
Suzanne, what was the first thing you have been thinking of this morning?
It was hearing the rain outside, thinking summer could be over. But hey, I'm British and we love talking about the weather over here. But it's just peeking out through the clouds now, so it looks like a good day.
Do you have a morning ritual usually?
Well, since I've been working from home, that's since March, rather than going straight to my desk, I go out for a morning walk. I live by a small river that feeds into the River Thames. It was a damp walk this morning, but it was very refreshing.
Today we are meeting Suzanne, marketing manager at Recolight, the leading waste, electrical and electronic equipment compliance team for the lighting industry in UK. They take on responsibility for their members' compliance, giving their customers access to the UK's most comprehensive free lamp collection and recycling service, and ensuring that as many lamps as possible are kept out of landfill.
Is there something that motivates you every day, let's say?
I think work-wise, it's just sharing knowledge and learning new ways to get our message out there. And I think, during the lockdown period, I've had so much opportunity to learn of new ways and do training. Personally, it's just my friends and family and the relationships with them.
You're not born in London. Where did you grow up?
Oh, I grew up in a very small village close to the sea down on the Kent coast, which is near Dover. Favourite activities were just being by the sea, canoeing and swimming, and also trekking out in the countryside with my friends and cycling, enjoying the great outdoors.
Okay, and which is your most beautiful memory from childhood?
Well, apart from where I grew up, it's also camping holidays every year down in Provence in the south of France. We'd meet up with 4 other families and drove down with boats on trailers, so it's just one big action-packed annual holiday.
Okay.
A dream to go back.
What did you want to do when you grew up?
Oh, that is a tricky one. I did a maths degree because I loved problem solving. And my first job was in a retail, working in a buying office for one of my favourite clothes shops. But I soon realised that was just a hobby and I wanted to work with technology.
Let's not get so far. Tell me, what were your hobbies as a teenager? Did you have some weird hobbies, let's say?
Well, apart from making clothes and being inventive with clothes, I wouldn't say I've got any weird ones, but teenage years were spent going to see bands around Kent and up in London. As I was a teenager in the late 70s, early 80s, and our music scene in the UK was just so good, so many bands to see.
And in your teenage, let's say, age, what were the classic occupations or professions at that time for the young people of your generation?
Well, I think careers guidance when I was at school was very poor. Gosh, it's so much better now. So I just carried on studying until I knew what I wanted to do. I wouldn't say there were classic occupations. My mother was a journalist for a local newspaper and also did a lot of work with youth services, with Girl Guides and other things. And my father was an industrial chemist, so I don't think they're classical occupations. But no, it's a hard one to say.
So you have never been thinking of becoming a journalist?
Well, I suppose I'm getting close to that now with all the press that I do for Recolight. I've sort of moved into not just marketing, but I manage our press program as well. So yeah, maybe some of my mother's rubbing off on me.
You have been working for almost 20 years in telecommunication, and it is not so usual nowadays to work so long for a single company. What made you stay so long?
I don't know of any other of my friends that have worked for 20 years for the same company, very few. But the thing about British Telecom, when I joined, they employed over 250,000 people. So I was able to move around to many different roles and offices. So it didn't really feel like I was working for just one company all that time.
So you have started with sales and then moved to the marketing. How come?
Well, sales and marketing, they go together very well. I was closely aligned with the marketing teams at British Telecom, and I moved to a marketing role while I was there and gained marketing qualifications also. When I left, I did a diploma in digital marketing.
So tell me more about a marketing campaign you have designed and you are still proud of.
Oh, this is a hard one because Oh gosh, I think it's not so much a marketing campaign, but it's something I've done this year, which I'm incredibly proud of. That I pulled together the whole of the lighting industry, well, a large part of the lighting industry, for a conference that was planned for March. I developed the agenda, got together over 20 speakers. We had a massive registrations as well, but had to postpone due to lockdown. So fast thinking, and I set up a series of webinars instead. So I kept all the speakers and the registrations for the event, plus we got extra registrations, well, over 400 for the webinars. It's been a huge success for raising our profile, creating leads, and also getting producer member to sign up for compliance. Another advantage of that was the lower cost meant that we could make attendance free, and with no delegate speaker or travel, it reduced our carbon footprint, which is so vital in the current climate crisis.
That's very nice. And what determined you to try the recycling as marketing specialist?
Well, I joined Recolight on a short-term contract, which is a rather lovely way to start a new role because it's a short introduction. And I just loved the challenge of raising awareness for recycling, especially for lighting. And 10 years on, I'm still here. So 10 years at Recolight and 20 at BT. But when you've got a job you love, it's always new challenges. So I love my job.
And before starting to work in this field, what did you knew about recycling?
Well, I've always been aware of the need to recycle. I mean, when I grew up and you got deposits back for bottles. I don't know if you remember. You had that though. You'd like find the bottles, take them back and get pocket money for sweets and things. But I knew very little about the WEEE regulations, the need to cycle electronic equipment. They were brought into the UK in 2007 without a huge awareness campaign. It was left to local authorities and compliance schemes to promote the need to recycle.
Tell us a little bit about Recolight. What kind of companies has access to your membership?
We were set up to provide compliance and free recycling for just lamps. That was back in 2007, but we've evolved since then. And we now provide compliance and recycling services for all electrical items and batteries. With Recolight, though, the producer members of our scheme, they mainly sell to businesses and not retail. Therefore, marketing focuses on raising awareness for business recycling and also recruiting new producer members. And just to point out that in the UK, there's around 35 compliance schemes for waste electrical equipment.
And people, what do they think about recycling in the UK? Is there a serious commitment from their part?
There's a very serious commitment within the industry. Many organisations are now deploying sustainability strategies and they're already working towards circular economy principles. They've also, many of them, setting ambitious goals for zero carbon emissions. But for households, I'd say it's been increasing greatly over the last few years with doorstop collections for most household items for recycling. And a few areas in the UK also do doorstop collections, or rather curbside collections, for small electrical items. Also in the UK, I don't know if you've heard that we have Extinction Rebellion. It's a huge organisation who are doing a great job on raising awareness, not just about our environment, but also the need to protect it, to recycle and to produce less waste.
That sounds great. And what are the major challenges regarding electric and electronic waste recycling that you address through your marketing activity?
It sounds a daft one, but it's a huge challenge to actually say that recycling is free, because some people don't understand that it's free. As I said before, there's 35 compliance schemes in the UK, and we're one of the few that operate as a not-for-profit, which means that all our money is used to fund our recycling service. That's lamps for all end users, but also we do free luminaires for producer members and their customers as well. Yeah, shouldn't be a challenge, but sometimes it can be, just to say it's free. Another small one is also the need to separate waste. So with luminaires, all the batteries and lamps need to be removed before they're recycling. So that's one thing as well, because if a container comes back with what we call contaminated waste, then that just produces extra charges that we have to pass on.
Yeah, but in the last months, what were the key messages that you used? Because I'm wondering if recycling has been a key priority for British companies this year, and maybe it was a little hard to get their attention as usual.
Well, we've managed to maintain a recycling service throughout the lockdown period. it's not been as busy, but we've still been operating business as usual. We thought it'd be a quiet time for us to get some of those sort of general housekeeping jobs done in the office, like, updating your procedures and brochures and things, but we seem to have been busier than ever. Other key messages is, promoting the circular economy for lighting with the webinars. I've actually been overwhelmed with responses. And as I've said, it's encouraging to see that the lighting industry is starting to take action.
But what triggers the people most in the UK when it comes to light bulb recycling?
I have to be honest, for consumers, it's very little, which is why that recently a national survey has been completed to find out the levels of awareness for recycling of electronic equipment. And for light bulbs, it came out very low. But good news, the survey results are being used for a national advertising campaign. That was due to start around March time, but it's been put on hold because of the pandemic. It's due to start soon. But for businesses, awareness is very good. And Recolight, we managed to meet our target each year, which is set by the government.
Speaking about the government, in an announcement at the end of July, the government stated that a transition to the circular economy will require changes. Manufacturing products that last longer are easier to repair, easier to upgrade, and which incorporate recycled raw materials will move from being the right thing to a legal requirement. How soon will this regulation be applied, and what do company representatives say about this?
It's not really a short answer to this one, Diana. Well, the EU Circular Economy Package, it aligns with the collective ambitions of all UK nations, that's England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, for us to move towards a circular economy. The UK is committed to moving towards the circular economy, which will see us keep in resources in use as long as possible, extracting maximum value, minimising waste. And many of the themes and provisions covered within the circular economy package, they relate to areas of the resources and waste policy for which the UK are already actively involved through sort of deploying and implemented, and work is underway to take forward commitments made in their waste strategies. For example, the resource and waste strategy for England forms part of the government's commitment to their 25-year environment plan, which they've set out ambitious goals and targets for all elements of sustainability. So implementing legislation, the UK will adopt the same wording as the directive, and the government stated that leaving the EU has not changed our ambitions on the environment. So our current environmental protection after the end of transition period, so we'll just carry on. And all four nations have committed to continuing to enhance environmental protections, recognising the need to accelerate action to address the climate emergency.
Suzanne, which are the top 3 things people don't know about electric and electronic waste recycling, in your opinion?
I think it's what can be recycled, where to recycle, and how it's recycling. But the national advertising campaign to raise awareness is about to start, so that's good news. And also from next year, retailers will need to provide recycling facilities for all electricals covered by the WEEE regulations. Up until now, they've just funded recycling at household waste recycling centres. This isn't easy for consumers because many of them are placed in outside towns, outside locations. So they have to make a special trip.
So speaking about vacation, I would like to ask you in the end, because there are many Romanians visiting the UK each year. I would like to know what can we do when visiting UK to be more eco-friendly?
It's a tricky one and maybe a bit controversial to finish on, but I'd say to be more eco-friendly, travel by train and don't fly. It's a long train trip from Romania. In fact, I was set to come to Romania for our annual conference, and I was looking at booking the train, and it was going to be a fantastic trip.
This was this week's Recolamp podcast. In the rest of the week, you can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram and YouTube Recolamp with fresh news about how we can protect the environment from home or office, about selective collection and recycling of light bulbs, as well as our ongoing campaigns, both for individuals and as well as for companies. If you are inspired by our stories, a subscribe on our YouTube channel would help us, and also a share, especially if you have friends who need this kind of inspiration.